which is outputting to console. Okay. So there's a thing you may have noticed when we ran that, and we were encountering problems with the error that it was saying it couldn't write to the file. It put that error message somewhere. So back when I had this as simply filename.tab, and I ran this, you'll notice that when this ran, and I were to stop it here, it had that error message here. And this is in console. And we've seen that before. You remember we did that sometimes when people are sending messages to one another. It would output information on this console. And in general, it's really easy to do this. There's a couple ways to do it. One is you can use this trace.ln, and you just put out a string to it, or you can use the system.out.println or system.error.println. Now, these two latter ones are useful because sometimes you have lower priority messages, which you'll do with one of them, and then sometimes there'll be higher priority messages, real errors or something. And those will be highlighted in red by using the system.error.println. So what I'd like to do is, let's change this. So I'm changing this code here so that instead of doing trace.ln, I do system.error. Yeah, it's capital S. System.error.println. Println. That's print with a new line after it. System.error is to the system's error stream. So it's basically the stream that it sends for error messages. And if we do that, and we again run this and stop it, what you'll see is actually it outputs it in red here. And that will be contrasted, for example, to something that's put out, maybe up here I'll say, about to write to file, right? And that will go also to the console using trace.ln, and then I'll stop that, and what you'll see is that, oh, okay, it didn't even get that far. Okay, yeah, well, fine. It didn't. It probably had trouble one of these first two things, so I'll put it up here. About to write to file. Okay. And what I'm actually doing here is showing how something could be used in debugging as well. If you stop this, you'll see, okay, this is hit before this error occurs. So if you're trying to track down where an error occurs, one thing you can do is have, for example, you can have trace.ln there, or trace.ln there, trace.ln here, and for each one you can give it a different name. And this will allow you to see exactly where the error occurs in some sequence. So if I run this, and I would do run, and I were to stop it, what you can see is it got to number 1, but it didn't get any further. And then it experienced this this error message here. And it's helpfully giving me some sort of information, I guess, link there. So it got to the point where one of them. So these things of outputting to console are really helpful for actually figuring out where it's gotten to, where in the program is it running, what did it reach before it had a problem, where is the strange behavior being elicited. You can scatter those throughout your code. And hopefully you can quickly comment them out. We'll talk about comments this session, but you can put 2 slashes before it, forward slashes, and that will comment them out, hide them, and you can re-enable them by uncommenting them. Okay, so outputting to console is useful. You can output all sorts of information to console. So for example, we could have an event, and I'm not going to suggest that you necessarily do this, but I could have an event here. Remember events. If I introduced an event and I had it, reporting event. Probably I should call it reporting, or event reporting. And then at that event, I could say trace ln, people dot count, hey, come on, count susceptible, and then I can do comma, people dot count recovered. Those are two statistics that I'm calling in people. And I could do that periodically from this event reporting. Event reporting I could set for recurrence time of, so this says recur once. I want it to be cyclic with a recurrence time of 1. And I could run it now. And what I'll find is that as I'm running this thing at full tilt, this thing is reporting the number susceptible and the number recovered. And so if I wanted to use that information, I could actually go and I could copy this and I could paste this into a spreadsheet. Well, okay, so that's the issue. I could paste it into something and then read it in as a tab delimited file or as a comment delimited file. There may also be a way in, here we go, text import wizard. I can use this in Excel and, hey, no, you didn't recognize it. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, boom. Delimited, yes, I want to do delimited. What's the comma? No, it's not a space, it's a comma. Normally I thought it's smarter than that. There we go. Okay, so in short, I output it to the console here. How did I do that? Well, I had a little event, and the event basically had some code that called this trace ln thing, which is talked about here. And it gave it something to print. Here, the number of susceptible and the number of recovered with a comma between them. These pluses are to paste them together as strings. And obviously, I could do an arbitrarily large number of these. And that's why it got output on the console here, like that. And then I can paste it into Excel. There's some problems with this. It's easy to do, but it can be mixed with other console output. It's limited length. The console is only of a certain length. And it depends on your memory to copy it, and it's less structured. Exporting to files automatically is very